we go. Record. Found it.
All right,
Wasn't even an
cool.
option on the bottom. I had to go to the little three little dots where it said more. Gosh. All right, so we got cut off. Let's pick right back up where we left off. So it seems kind of seamless.
So I wasn't doing this just for me. I was doing this for everybody across the United States. So I couldn't give up. I had to just stick with it, and it paid off now. And so I think this lawsuit is going to get settled in court because I don't want to settle out of court. And if I did wind up settling out of court, then it would come with a lot of stipulations because the whole point of this whole thing is to start separating us living men and women from the jurisdiction of the state that we've all been tricked into believing. Just like you said, there's a ton of people in jail that are there because they consented without their knowledge, without informed consent to be there. So I want to change that. I
Yeah,
want to change
that's
all of it.
it's it's especially the last 4 years, what happened, 4 years ago, with the whole, you know, pan
George Floyd,
well, I mean, I'm referring to the worldwide fakery that
that
happened.
thing that they did to us, yeah,
Yeah,
where they're
that
trying
that
to.
thing, that little thing they did. I think that was a huge wake-up call for a lot of people. I mean, me included. And then I think there's been a lot more people coming out about constitutional rights, constitutional law, and not really just that, but you're really expanding into people really beginning to understand that they're sovereign beings, that there is not there's no human being that has any jurisdiction over anybody else whatsoever. It's been an illusion. It's been a trickery, a convincing of what we would call the government and large corporations and all these things that we've developed into during this time, that we have slid so far down the hill, to really wake up and go, oh my gosh, like every single institution's been captured, every single one, medical, financial, everything. It almost seems like the hill's too far to climb back up again. And it's like, where do we go from here? But it does start with people like you that are making these big steps, that are sacrificing their life, so that they can make a point, a very large one, to say, listen, people, you're a sovereign, you are a living soul. You're not this wicker man that they make you out to be, because it wasn't that long ago. I'm going to go back 10 years ago when I'm trying to work my way up the corporate ladder in my profession. That just seemed like a normal thing to do, without realizing really what it actually means, because it all seems so innocent and it all seems very legitimate. It doesn't seem like there's anything nefarious going on there. But then when you really look in a little bit deeper, you see how nefarious it actually is. All these things that they say are there to protect you. They're there here to help, public safety, all these things. And it's just a masquerade. It's just a pretty little bow that they put around what's really going on, which is it's really the opposite of what they say. So it's a really fascinating subject.
I want to talk about that because what you're saying is true. This has been a plan that's been in the works against us for a long time. And not a lot of people even know how it got started, where it got started, who it started with. And it comes down to the birth certificate bond and how we are collateral and surety for this birth bond contract that is made for us by our parents who, without their understanding, they accidentally inform on us, and our name is given to the birth doctor who turns it over to the vital statistics office, who makes a birth certificate or bond and sends it to the Federal Reserve, who sends it to the International Monetary Fund. And that's where our credit for our country is derived, from our bond against us as sureties or collateral for that bond. Now, I have been making some videos for my Rumble channel using invideo.ai. I paid the $500 year subscription and I can make 200 minutes of videos. And I've been making tutorials on my Rumble channel. And I'm about to make this new video, and this video, it's text to video. So I can create a text and then copy and paste the text into InVideo's AI tool, hit generate, and it takes about 10 minutes for it to make a video, a documentary style video. And you can see some of them on my Rumble channel. But I want to read a portion of this script that directly addresses what you're talking about. And this new video hasn't even been made yet, but this is the script I'm going to use for it. And I got this from the Redemption Manual 4.5. And I don't know if I've sent you the Redemption Manual, but I will email it to you. And that's about how to redeem yourself from your birth bond so that you're the creditor instead of a debtor in commerce.
Very
Because
important. Very important.
the state sees us as debtors and not creditors in commerce. And you're seen as a slave or surety or collateral. That's why they can bail you around, because you're just a thing. And since your birth, you've been considered dead, lost at sea, missing, and not having reached the age of majority or the age of consent. So let me read this to you. And it's going to take a few minutes, but it's important that your fans hear this, because this is the situation. And the title is "The Past is Now the Future." The following 80-plus-year-old quote brings shock and awe. Quoted from a meeting, it's hard to believe how a conversation made over 80 years ago can be dead on to the methods that are being discussed for use in today's society. Edward Mandell House made the conversation below to Woodrow Wilson while Wilson was president of the USA between 1913 and 1921. And with today's society dealing with security and possible use of fingerprints and DNA to maintain order internally, the words of Edward Mandell House then would make him a prophet equal to many science fiction writers of his time. So here's the quote. Quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under a scheme of secured transactions. Americans, unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit, and they will be none the wiser, for not one man in a million could ever figure it out." And I figured it out. For not one man in a million could ever figure it out. We have in our arsenal a plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap to us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Unquote. And that's
Wow.
where we are today.
Yeah, that's spot on. That's nuts. That's exactly what's going on, you know?
Yeah. And we are collateral, and we do have redemption. While we're here in this video, let me give your audience the solution. The redemption is, and I put it in my book, The Solution, but you don't even have to get my book. All you have to do is understand that you can use an IRS 1040 voucher to discharge all debt against your birth certificate bond. So the United States corporation has your bond, and it has unlimited value that can be used to discharge debt against. Everyone thinks that they have to use Federal Reserve notes, which is fiat currency debt instrument, to pay a debt. But you can't pay a debt with a debt instrument. So what you do is you use an IRS 1040 voucher, and you put the account number, like your credit card, the credit card you're trying to discharge, or mortgage or car payment. Put that account number on there, the amount you want discharged against your debt. Then you mail it to the IRS, to the Treasury in Puerto Rico, or wherever they've moved the Treasury to. Last I heard, it was in Puerto Rico. You send it there, say, hey, discharge this. You send it registered mail. Registered mail, you get the red registered mail number. You put your new registered mail number on that letter to the Treasury. Tell them discharge this debt against this account, and they will discharge the account, because the Internal Revenue Service isn't really Internal Revenue Service, it's Internal Revenue Service. They revenue your debits and credits from one side of the ledger, your ledger, to the other. So you have unlimited credit. No one wants you to know that you can discharge all your debt. You can buy a house, incur a mortgage, discharge the debt. So now it's all paid off. Then you can sell that house for whatever it's worth and pocket all the cash. And you can do that over and over and over again and become a multimillionaire. Everybody can do it because we have unlimited credit. So if everyone starts discharging all their debt and sending these 1040 vouchers to the Treasury, and then along with the statutes and codes, I can send you the statutes and codes that show that they need to pay attention to it, because that's also in this document. In fact, there's something in here that they need to hear. Okay, this is from the Uniform Commercial Code 10-104. These laws are not repealed. The article on documents of title does not repeal or modify laws prescribing the form or contents of documents of title, or the services or facilities to be afforded by bailies, or otherwise regulating bailies' businesses in respects not specifically dealt with herein. But the fact that such laws are violated does not affect the status of a document of title which otherwise complies with the definition of title, section 1-201, as amended 1962 and 1994. Note, Business Law 1962, West Publication, Chapter 23, page 491, secured party replaces mortgagee. So listen, secured party. When you become the secured party creditor, that replaces mortgagee, seller, and trustor assignee. Security interest replaces title. Financing statement is the instrument filed to give public notice. So what does that mean? That means that if you file the paperwork to the Treasury down there and give them the IRS 1040 voucher, you're becoming a secured party, aka creditor. And now that document is a fact, and it is a fact withstanding, and it is the law. And now that replaces what you were as a mortgagee. Now you're the creditor, and you control the property, and you have a discharge. So the Treasury, according to the Uniform Commercial Code, which is our contracting code that we use across the world, they're not allowed to ignore that document when you send that in, that IRS 1040 voucher, to discharge the debt on whatever debts you're discharging. So that is your redemption. That is the way you redeem the value, and that is the way you become a creditor and a secure party. A secure party is someone who has secured their credit as their own from their birth bond, and now they're using the IRS forms, the Internal Revenue Service, to change these debits and credits over from the debt side to the credit side, and to eliminate your debt. So that way you can then sell your house for cash or whatever you want and take the profit, then go incur another mortgage, discharge that debt, sell that house for cash. And we all have the ability to do that, the freedom and the right under the laws to do that. And that way you don't have to be a 9-to-5 debt slave. And so that is the way you get redemption. But it took a lot of time and effort to figure it out. It says in that quote that I read, not one in a million is going to figure it out. Well, I figured it out and wrote a book on it. Now I'm doing interviews about it and telling you all you got to do. You don't have to buy my book. You don't have to do anything other than fill out the 1040 voucher with the account number on there and mail it to the Treasury. Registered mail.
Let me ask you this. So, would the first step be having to go through the steps that you had to go through securing your birth certificate and getting that straightened out first, or you wouldn't even have to do that? Like, you've already been through those steps to.
Yeah, basically what you want to do is create a trust. That's what I did. You create a security agreement, which is really a trust. It's a document that lists all of your property. This is the trust. This document is a trust, and the document lists all my property and and this trust gets published into the commercial record through the clerk of the courts through with a power of attorney general. So you create the trust. Mine's like a 28-page document. It lists who I am, my 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 image, my body, my biometrics, my fingerprints, my name, my birth bond, my car, my house. That's all my property, my private property. I'm putting into this trust, and now that trust is under my control. I'm the beneficiary, I'm the trustee, I'm the executor. I control the trust. Then I create a power of attorney general over that trust, saying that this trust with the number RRF, which is my initials, and then my birth date I put in there, the last four of my social security number, as a unique identification number for that trust. I put that number in a power of attorney general saying that I have the power of attorney general or power of attorney over that trust. Then I file those documents with the clerk of the courts on the record, and in 30 days, it cures and it becomes a fact withstanding. So if I ever needed to go to court and defend my trust and say, hey, I'm the controller of this trust, which I'm going to have to probably do in this court case. Here's my filing number right here on this paperwork I got from the clerk of the courts that shows that this power of attorney general and this trust was filed on the record as my private property, and nobody rebutted it after 30 days. It's a fact. It's a fact withstanding in this case. And you guys stole my property, even though I told you you're breaking the law, you're stealing my private property that I filed in this trust. And that's how you do it. You protect yourself by filing the paperwork. Sending Somebody was telling me in a Facebook post that, oh, we need to email the attorney general. We need to write letters to the congressman. You do not make change that way. You make change by filing official documents into the public domain via the clerk of the court. You put it into the public record so it becomes a fact with standing
I,
in court.
I think you need to repeat that one more time because I can't tell you how many people I know say the same exact thing. They say, you need to write an email to the governor. You need to write an email to the mayor. You need to write an email. And I'm thinking, I'm going, that doesn't do anything. Do you know how many people are writing these emails with their grievances about what's going on?
Yeah,
Not
they can ignore
thing.
that.
Yeah, that one thing is going to happen by doing that,
You write an affidavit, you get the affidavit notarized in front of a witness, and then you file the affidavit into the record with the clerk of the court. You go down there and you're like, I want to file this affidavit. It opens up a case. There might be a filing fee, but now you are stating a fact that goes into the record. And if it goes into the record and it's filed and it goes 30 days without anybody rebutting the facts to it, then it becomes a fact with standing in court. Letters and emails to the congressmen and the senators are not going to make any change. You making an affidavit and a statement and filing it on the record as a fact, that causes action. That means that now someone you're making an affidavit or a claim against, they have to take action. They got to respond, because let's say you've been harmed like I was by the cops. I filed an affidavit with all the facts. And that's a fact withstanding now because no one ever rebutted it. And now I have that affidavit that I filed as a fact withstanding that I can bring into my court case against the state when I sue them and show this as a fact withstanding unrebutted. And if they don't reply to it, they go into dishonor. They go into default. And now they accept the claims against them. So if they don't answer your demands and your claims against them that you've made on the record, they go into dishonor. They go into default. Not a lot of people can define honor. A judge or somebody is an honorable judge because they satisfy obligations that they have accepted or conditionally accepted. That's why when the cop pulled me over and he's like, give me your name, I wanted to stay in honor. And I said, yes, I will give you my name for $500. That's my conditional acceptance to your offer. I'm still in honor. You don't have the right to arrest me. Step out of the vehicle. Great. You want me to perform? I'll step out of the vehicle for you. $500 cash up front. And it's on the video. I'll give you that video. You can post it in this interview. The cop completely dishonoring my conditional acceptance to his offer while I stayed in honor. He dishonored himself by not giving me the $500 that I conditionally accepted his offer for. All questions are offers. When the cop is asking you a question, he's making you an offer. When he puts his lights up behind you to pull you over, he's making you an offer. You can either accept his offer and pull over, or you can just keep driving and maybe slow down and wave him around. Like, go ahead, go around. I'm letting you go around. No, you need to pull over. Why? What happened? Is there an emergency? When he pulls you over, and here's something your people need to know. Cop pulls you over, comes up to your window. Do you know why I pulled you over? Uh, what happened? Before we get into any of that, is there an emergency? What happened? Sir, you were driving 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. I don't know what that means. Sir, you're breaking the speed limit. You're driving recklessly. I have no idea what you're talking about. That should be your responses. What happened? I don't know what that means. I have no idea what you're talking about. That way, there's no meeting of the minds and there's no implied verbal contract. So you haven't contracted with them. If you contract with them by going, oh, I'm sorry, I was driving too fast. Now you've accepted their jurisdiction and their contract with you. But if you say, what happened? I don't know what that means. I have no idea what you're talking about. There is no meeting of the minds and therefore no contract. So let your audience take that with them, because that's the best way to handle it, is to not have a meeting of the mind so that you're not contracting.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I think the worry that people would have with doing something like that is the same thing. They don't want to be,
I
you know,
know.
yeah. So that's the risk. That's the risk you have to be willing to take if you want to stand up to
I,
of,
dude, I've taken that risk a few times, and
I know,
sometimes it
yeah.
backfires, and sometimes they go away.
Sometimes
But
it backfires.
look, as much as painful as this whole process was, I was there. Half of me hated it and wanted it to be over, and the other half of me was like, I'm in the right. I'm just. I've stayed in honor. These guys are criminals. So I want this to end, but I also want to win. And I'm also doing this to just help people not be taken advantage of and oppressed and violated. And that's what's been happening. Everyone's getting violated, lied to, and racketeered against. And the cops are involved, the Fraternal Order of Police, the judges, these administration centers that aren't courts. They're just dressed up to look like Article 3 courts, tow truck drivers, everything. So
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, I mean, probably one of the big starting points too is, to self-empowerment is becoming a healthy person, mentally, emotionally, physically. And a lot of us have accepted the mind control, the coffee and the wine and the liquor and the bad foods and all this kind of stuff. And really what that's doing is it's really dumbing us down to a point where we kind of forget about how powerful we really are as beings of this whole creation, which is absolutely magnificent. If you really just sit back and ponder, just looking out of a window, and see the magnificence of everything, it's really it's absolutely very profound. And
it
when
could be heaven,
it
and we
could
don't know
be,
it.
it could
And
be,
then the sociopaths are trying to turn it into hell.
and what it's turned into because of all of the mind control and the mind control and the subliminal messaging and everything that's we've been so persuaded to look at everything as so negative. It's like just to see a bird flying through the air. It's a magnificent thing to watch, but we could look at the bird and a lot of people think, man, I'm gonna go get my gun and shoot that bird out of the air. Well, say, whoa, where did that thought come into your mind? Like that's a really negative thought for anybody to think. But again, it's I don't see a lot of people, that will look at this reality as sort of this sort of simulated construct that is created to be a sort of death cycle or death trap where we just re go over and over and over again, which it could be. But I just choose to look at it differently, where even if that is the case, we are getting recycled back into this misery over and over and over again. That it's the misery has been created by certain ruling groups to keep us that way. If we come out of this and see our true power, our true authority inside of this world as a creation of a magnificent creator, I guess we could say, that would all change. This could be a heaven. It could be a sort of utopia, and I use that word loosely because it's utopia is kind of attached to the tyrannical, ideas of dystopia. Kind of like the World Economic Forum. Everything is wrapped in a pretty bow, but really it's hell for everybody. But I think we've just been convinced. We've been convinced this world is bad. We've been convinced that everything about it is negative. And we are getting so compounded by the 9 to 5 mentality that it's hard to break out of it. And we're just looking for these little tiny breathers, Saturday and Sunday to go to the beach, and then bust our ass again during the week. And then we get the weekend time to be able to not enjoy it because we're so weakened from the week. So it just, anyways, kind of a little bit of a rant. That
No,
self-empowerment, coming out of it, building ourselves up to really feel wonderful about ourselves esoterically inside, then the exoteric world will begin to shift. Here's another theory I have too, real quick. This is interesting with movies and stuff. A lot of people seem to think that, they create these movies, like Spielberg and Lucas and the like, Ridley Scott, Stanley Kubrick, back in the day. We're creating movies to kind of give people clues as to what's happening in the reality in the future. But my theory on this is that what they're doing is because these people that are in charge of creating these scripts, that they know how powerful human beings are at manifesting. So what they're doing is creating, say, futuristic events or things that are happening so that we in turn watch it, and it's a mirrored effect, right? The mirror neurons and stuff that.
predictive programming.
Yes, and what it's doing is we're the ones creating that reality. So when we see a sci-fi movie with cyborgs that have taken over the world, um, what we and are part of our subconscious mind is believing that to be a real thing. Well, so
With
what's
the 100th monkey syndrome
right,
effect.
we're creating it in effect by just watching it. So enough people watch a movie, we've created that reality. Look like the movie The Matrix. We've created it now because it's gone into the paradigm. So it's an ingenious process. It's like, let's get enough people to watch the same thing. They'll create the reality we want. You know what I mean? Which is the control grid. This is really what they're
You have to
looking at.
almost disconnect. I subscribe to the assertions made in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth,
Yep.
where we're these miraculous light energy beings that were born with everything that we need, and we don't need food. And I'm trying to get off of food. It's a drug. I think everything we consume is a drug. It has an effect on our body, and it causes our body to not make those drugs that it would normally make themselves. And then you become used to it. And now the foods that we're putting in, dead, cooked animals and stuff like that, and sugars, are destroying our essence and killing us early. Whereas what Emerald Tablets of Thoth say is that if you abstain from food, you become a super light being. You can drop your body or you can stay in your body, but you can live forever. And that, I think we've been put here, we can live forever, but these demons or these evil, wicked beings want to control everything. So they want us killed like pests as soon as possible. So they create a birth bond when we're born that matures on our 18th birthday. And then with food and drugs and alcohol and mind programming, they try and get us to kill ourselves with all that garbage before we turn 62 and a half and start collecting Social Security. And they cash out our death bond when we die.
Yep.
And so it's a murder plot. They're criminals. They're trying to use mass media rhetoric to get you to poison yourself and show in these commercials how happy and tasty it is to eat this Wendy's burger and join the party. And you watch every TV show and cop show and movie. Whenever someone has an issue with something, they go to the bar and they start drinking liquor, hard liquor, or beers to celebrate. Celebrating with food and alcohol, drowning your sorrows with liquor, and you just
Coffee.
turn to these, and then you wake up in the morning and you have coffee. I switched to Rise coffee now, which is a mushroom blend with a small amount of Arabica coffee, but I'm working on getting off caffeine and any stimulants because what do they tell you? Hey, increase your metabolism to burn your body fat to be healthier. But what? When you increase your metabolism, raises your heart rate, makes you have more beats, heart beats faster, so you get to that last heartbeat quicker. Why not stop eating, stop stimulating yourself with caffeine and stimulants and slow your metabolism down? slow your whole aging process down. Stop eating. Just do water fasts. Maybe drink Ezziac tonic. That's what I'm using now to cleanse myself again because I'm susceptible to temptation. I grew up in this messed up world that I got thrown into that I thought was great. I mean, it's so weird, man. My whole belief system growing up was like, I got baseball, I got sports, I got life, I got parents, I got friends, I can do whatever I want. We party, we drink, we eat, we have a good time, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have steak and potatoes and vegetables for dinner and have a glass of wine and all that stuff, but it's all just programming for me to kill myself, for everyone to kill themselves, and it's just disgusting. And
Yep.
the
Absolutely.
Food and Drug Administration, that's the FDA, is the administer of food and drugs that they want us to kill ourselves with. And not look, 99% of the population are doing it. And I guess just a small percentage of us are waking up and realizing that there's a huge scam working in every area of our lives. And unless you do something about it and make a claim on the record and you file the right paperwork, then you're just going to be a slave. And it's terrible. It's terrible what's happening. And I agree with you about what you said about how we live in this beautiful world, but we are being programmed to destroy ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. It's a destructive. Everything is built with the idea of it being completely destructed. There isn't really you don't really there's not any sense of what's the word I'm looking for here? Any sort of conscious evolution. There's nothing that promotes this sort of for lack of a better term, higher mind, higher, a deeper connection with the unseen, this spark that drives these mortal engines, this body. Like there's not any searching for that, right? When we have all these distractions, I mean, not including religions too, all these distractions on really the what we really are, that
And this has been
pure
going on for a long time. I
thousands of
studied the
years.
Tartarian Empire, and I'm starting to look at new archaeology, and they're digging up under the ground. Under the ocean. They're finding ancient cities. Well, I guarantee every place you walk on Earth is built on top of a dead empire, bodies, buildings, and stuff, and we have no idea how long this has been going on, how long these beings have been in charge, these shape shifting politicians or whatever they are being controlled by beings that we can't even see. I mean, I was in the movie as an extra about how all these people were divergent. They're all trapped in the city of Chicago around this cement wall. And when they get out, then there's this electromagnetic barrier that they finally break through. And then they find out they're being watched by nano cameras in the air that they can just pull up any coordinate in space and watch us from their safe haven in their building. And they're just controlling a bunch of people inside of a wall that they can't escape, and they're using nanotechnology with nano cameras in the atmosphere that we can't even see, and they can see everything. They can see inside of us, through us, everything that we're doing everywhere in space. And I think that's just like you said, the mass media kind of gives us these truths hidden in plain sight of what the real technology is, because the technology we're using is archaic and old, and we have so much more technology than that now that we don't even know about, that's being used against us, and we have no idea about it, and it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. I think these UFOs that we're seeing in the sky, those are the beings and people that have been here on this earth for a long time. They've mastered 0 point gravity. They know how to manipulate the space around them, and they're controlling everything, and they're doing genetic engineering on us, and they've turned us from a 15-foot from lips to anus tube into an appendage, apparently sentient being. So we don't know what's really going on and what year it is, how old the earth is, how old our civilization is, because they're killing us after 100 years. So
Oh
no one's
yeah.
alive.
Reset, 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 reset. There's been so many resets that have happened. Our whole history has been completely fabricated. It's unbelievable. It's there's a new documentary. I'm not really big into Stu Peters so much, but he's involved in this new documentary that came out all about the faked history. It was really good. I don't know if you've
It's
seen it.
hard to tell if he's a CIA plant.
I know.
Stu Peters, he's a former police officer from England, right?
I,
And
he, I don't know what his
oh
history
no,
is.
no, no, no. He's got
His own show.
show, a
Yeah,
news show.
exactly. He's
I
been
kind of
talking
like
out
him.
about all this stuff for a long time, but the documentary about the fake history is really fascinating because I've looked into it myself too, and it's like there's no dot connecting. There's things that just do not make sense. They've had technology, like say at the World Fair, there's that we don't even have now. They're using sort of Tesla technology then to power the whole grid. They weren't using freaking turbines or generators or anything like that. They were harnessing the atmospheric energy to create to light up the entire city. I mean, this stuff I think has been going on. This
And that
technology,
whole system is all the buildings that have become our churches and synagogues.
right? They
And
used
that
to
was
have them.
really the electromagnetic grid.
That's right, exactly. So it's like it's all been mudded down and just convoluted. The simple to me, simple question anybody can ask themselves is where do you come from? You know what I mean? Like just ask that question. And as soon as you ask that question, the answer is going to be, I have no idea. And that right there is evidence enough to know that you have been purposely detached and disconnected from your roots, your past. Because if you go back into the ancient times, you go back to, well, what we know, the Mayans, and, go back into time, these tribal, um, tribal peoples were so connected with their past that 10,000 years ago to them was just the same as it is now because it never ended. Everything was verbally moved on. They were connected with their ancestors, connected with all of this. And so to live now in the moment as a person in this body is you're living the entirety of your whole civilization right there in that moment. That's how connected they were with the past,
Yeah.
but
A,
not now. We're
a
just
friend of
disconnected.
mine works for SpaceX, Raphael Pujol, Pujol. And he won't talk to me anymore because I was like, hey, can we even escape the firmament? What year is it? And he goes, look, I'll tell you this, there is no time. Everything happened all at once because the sun and moon are just lights in the sky. Without them and the stars revolving overhead, there would be no time. Everything happened all at once and is right now, and time is an illusion. Without the sun, moon, and stars, nothing, everything is just all at once.
Yeah, it's a
So
moment
it's
to moment.
hard to fathom that, but
Yep, everything is moment to moment. Yeah. Ron, we got a minute and 24 seconds left. Any closing, any words of positivity, out of everything that's happened, your case, going through all this stuff, the world, what's happening. Um,
if anyone has any issues and they were trying to resolve a case, just tell them to email me at farnham.ronald@gmail.com and I'll point them to the right people and the right paperwork.
all right.
Uh, my new movie Horoscope is done and edited, and I just submitted it to the Brooklyn, all three Academy Award accredited film festivals: Brooklyn Film
Awesome.
Festival, Austin Film Festival, and CineQuest. And I have a new book out that I published this year called The Cocoa Beach Kids, about living in a computer simulation.
Awesome.
So that's it. But I will be when this case is finally reconciled and I get my remedy and the penalties, we'll do another interview and they'll get the update on everything that
Let's do
happened.
it, man. And we can do one before then too. We can talk about something. We'll get a topic and just bust out on it. Something metaphysical, something esoteric, something fun.
Okay.
All
All
right,
good.
man.
Thanks, Logan. I appreciate your
Thank you
time,
so
buddy.
much. It was awesome talking to you, man. And congratulations, dude. I'm so pumped.
Thanks. All
All
right.
right. I'll be in
Peace.
touch soon. Later.